This video is about the history of Santa, so if there's young kids in the room, you may want to pause or come back to this later. At Christmas, some Christian families choose to do Santa, some do not. Regardless of whether or not the big man visits your house, it's undeniable that he's a major part of the American Christmas tradition. In reality, we know much less about him than his legacy suggests, but his story is larger than life. So let's talk about how St. Nicholas became Santa Claus and how Santa Claus relates to the birth of Christ. The story begins in Turkey, modern-day Turkey, but it was known then as Asia Minor. It's there that Nicholas was born around 280 AD, in Patara, Lycia. Tradition teaches that his parents died at a young age and left him a sizable inheritance. The legend goes that he used that inheritance to help the sick and the poor. As an adult, Nicholas became the pastor at the church in Myra. Myra still being in modern-day Turkey. We don't know a lot about his life, but we do have 3 stories that may or may not be true. The most famous of these stories is where a poor farmer had 3 daughters and he couldn't afford to pay the dowries for them to get married. He was considering sending them into prostitution. When Nicholas heard about this, he put some gold in a sock and then dropped it through an open window at the people's home. Some stories suggest that he just put the gold in the sock in the man's garden. Either way, when it came time for the second daughter to marry, Nicholas did the same thing again. When it came time for the third daughter to marry, Nicholas again put gold in a sock and gave it to the family. This time the farmer found out that it was Nicholas and went and thanked him for his generosity. The second well-known story is a bit different. It said that there was an innkeeper who unalived 3 boys. He was covering his tracks when Nicholas entered the inn. Sensing the crime, Nicholas resurrected the boys. As a result of these stories, Nicholas became known as the patron saint of giving gifts and children. It's widely believed that Nicholas was imprisoned for his faith around 303 AD when there was a lot of persecution towards pastors in the Christian tradition. It's also believed that he was released from prison in 313 when Constantine came into power. Nicholas is mentioned by at least one author as someone who attended the Nicene Council in 325 AD. The council was held in Bithynia, which is a province in modern-day Turkey. His name appears as the 151st of the 300 pastors who attended the council. The last story about Nicholas deals with the council itself. There were a group of pastors there known as Arians who had been teaching the followings of Arius. Arius believed that Jesus was not eternal God. The story goes that an argument broke out between some of the Arians and the other pastors, and Nicholas was so upset over the issue that he actually punched one of the Arian pastors in the face. That would put him on the naughty list for sure. While it is likely that Nicholas did attend the Council of Nicaea, we don't have any other writers actually mentioning him hitting another pastor in the face. The stories we do have appear much later. But we do know that he worked to keep the teachings of the Arians out of his church in Myra. It's believed that Nicholas died on December 6, 343 AD. As a result, a feast in his honor was celebrated on that day every year until the Protestant Reformation. More on this and his transformation in the Santa we know today in Part 2.